College football is back. Well, last week was week 0, but the whole slate starts tomorrow night and this weekend. And this weekend, the big matchup is Oregon versus Auburn, and the man who will be there on the sidelines for it is Ian Fitzsimmons. You can hear him Monday through Friday nights here on 97.3 ESPN for Freddie and Fitzsimmons on 97.3 ESPN and ESPN Radio. Ian, how you doing today?
Man, I want to apologize to you, partner. I got caught up in yard work when you're coming off 7 surgeries on your foot and ankle, and you can finally get out and sweat again and take care of your house and not pay somebody to freaking do it. I got a little wrapped up in just getting out there and sweating and taking some pride in your home. So I apologize for missing you earlier. Great to be here right now, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I appreciate you jumping back on. I was going to ask you about your foot because you almost got ran over at the end of that Florida-Miami game. So how is the foot doing?
Oh, do you guys see that?
I heard it on the radio when you told what's his name to hold on to you.
Yeah. Johnny Grenard, by the way, hell of a player and a remarkable comeback story coming off an injury. 2 sacks in that game. They got to Jaron Williams 10 times, really 13 because three of the other sacks were called back by penalty. But yeah, so Grenard, just a phenomenally human being, and he's now my new favorite player because I'm out there in a walking boot, and all of a sudden his team is coming to swarm him. They're running toward the band, which was behind us, they're coming right at one of their leaders, and he looks down at my foot, and I'm like, yeah, dude, and he's like, we got a problem. I'm like, hey, man. Back him off, partner, because we ain't ready for this yet, dude. And he bear hugged me, literally picked my fat butt up, and was waving to the guys hold on. I mean, it was hilarious. So he was my new favorite player in all of sports. Maybe I'm my new favorite person on the planet because he saved my sorry butt. Because it was a stampede of Gators coming at us at the end of that game.
Well, I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad you're back on the sidelines and everything because, when you talk to these players, you're getting incredible insights from them. And, on Saturday night, that Florida-Miami game, I know some people will say, oh, it wasn't great football, but I argue it was great defense because you saw 2 high-level defenses getting at it, and it's just so interesting to see how people are so obsessed with offense sometimes, Ian. But, on Saturday night, I saw 2 teams that have incredible athletes on the defensive side of the ball.
I agree, Josh, and I disagree. I thought it was as Grenard and I talked about after the game. In that post-game interview, I mean, it was, I thought, a sloppy game that was hypnotically entertaining. And it came down to the last possession, and I thought, to be honest, man, I thought that Miami was the better team that night. Baxter misses a chippy field goal that he's automatic from 50. That's 5-0. And he misses a gimme, pushes it way right. Jeff Thomas, who's so sure-handed, muffs a punt, right, with his heels on the 10, which leads to a Florida touchdown, and then drops a dime that Jaron Williams puts on him on the front pylon on the right corner of the end zone, right in front of me. They hit him on the 4. It was tight coverage, but you got to make that play. And, those are just a couple of plays that Miami did not make. And as Manny Diaz told me at halftime, he said, we're playing one of the worst games we could possibly play, and we're up 6. My message to these guys at the half, imagine if you were playing up to your potential. Well, they didn't in the second half either. And, you got a freshman left tackle, true freshman, who came onto campus at 245 pounds. He's now 280. But he got put in a spin cycle, man. Just imagine you're a shirt, right, in your washing machine, and it's just going round and around. And that's what he was like. I mean, he didn't know what way was up, and I felt badly for him. But all in all, under Manny Diaz, the Canes, I came away thinking the Canes are going to be better than most people think, and the Gators with that offensive line, with only Neil Buchanan coming back, might be a heck of a lot worse than most people think.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people came into this season thinking Florida could maybe challenge Georgia. And going into that game, I was worried about the offensive line. I mean, I mean, how many games have you seen, Ian, that one offensive lineman goes down, the entire chemistry goes down? You lose 4 out of 5 guys. I'm surprised Felipe Franks didn't get more pressure in his face.
Yeah, and look, the Miami linebackers led by Shaq Quarterman, number 55. If he ends up on your NFL team, if you're a Giants or Jets fan, you're going to love this dude. I mean, he is a beast. And when I say, he wants to win every snap. He doesn't want to hit you. He wants to hurt you. He arrives with bad intentions. And that front seven for Miami, I think, is very underrated. And that linebacking core might be the most underrated position group in all of college football. And with 4 starters, you're having to replace 4 guys, and you only have Neil Buchanan back at center for the Gators. They've got some work to do. But no matter what, it's week 1, and knowing Dan Mullen as well as I do, I've known him since he was the quarterback's coach at Utah with Urban Meyer and Kyle Whittingham and that just ridiculous staff they had out there back in 2004. He'll fix it. He'll get it right. But just on that one game, Florida has a lot of work to do. Miami has a lot to work as far as, a lot to be proud of and things they can come away with going, you know what? We should have won that football game.
Ian Fitzsimmons joining us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. He will be at the Oregon-Auburn game this Saturday night. You hear all the action.
By the way.
You hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Ian, before we get to that game, you were talking about linebacker, and I want to ask you about your perspective on the Dylan Moses news that came out today. It's so frustrating to see a talented guy like that out for the season with a torn ACL. Just talk a little bit about that, because I know you've been around the Alabama program a lot.
Yeah, look, man, I talked to Dylan on Monday, as a matter of fact. Not even 48 hours ago, and he was so just gung ho on getting ready for the season. And he wears that number 32, and that number 32 is become an organic tradition at Alabama. C.J. Mosley wore it, first round draft pick for the Baltimore Ravens. Now with your New York Jets up there, and he passed it down to Rashaan Evans, first-round draft pick for the Tennessee Titans, a senior captain for Alabama, who went out with a national championship. And Dylan Moses went to Rashaan, who's like his big brother, and said, am I worthy of that number? Can I wear it? I won't embarrass it. And Rashaan looked at him and said, and this was what Rashaan told me, he said, you're more than worthy. You won't embarrass it. Cherish it. Embrace it. And continue the tradition. And now you have the number 18 at LSU, a new tradition organically was born at Alabama at that storied linebacker position where you've got Cornelius Bennett, Derek Thomas. We can go on down the list, right? And to lose Dylan, when he told me about how much that number meant to him on Monday and how he just wants to live up to it, and it's on him, he said, to get his teammates back to the Bama way. That they lost their way after the LSU game last year. And I called that game. And that was, 1v2, right? Best on best, and they punked LSU in Baton Rouge. And he said they kind of lost focus. Like, guys became individuals, and they weren't playing as a unit. And that's the betterment of the team is the Bama way, as he described it to me. And to lose that guy, not just a remarkable player, but a better person. Think about this, dude. This guy was offered a scholarship by Nick Saban in 8th grade. My daughter's in 8th grade, man. I see some of the kids that she goes to school with. No, coach. No. And normally when that happens, right, 9 out of 10 times, hell, 99 out of 100 times, that 8th grader who was offered a scholarship by LSU, Alabama, USC, man, they get such a big head and they flame out and don't ever even come close to panning out to being a ball player. And as he told me, my parents would never allow that, and I wouldn't allow that. I'm all about the man in the mirror and playing for the guy next to me. This is a dude who had that attitude as a 13-year-old, and you're losing that? But, partner, that's hard to replace. He'll be in the film room. He'll be a player coach, but being out there as a signal caller also, that's right. A kicker, because now you have a true freshman out there for Alabama. Forget the team aspect. I'm talking about the person. I feel for the guy because he is such a remarkable, remarkable young man.
Yeah, that's a loss that's very hard to replace. How do you think Nick Saban does handle that replacement? You mentioned the freshman's got to fill in, but we've seen Nick Saban deal with injuries before. How do you think he's going to shift things around and kind of like help motivate some of these guys?
man, that is their thinnest position by far. You already lost Josh McMillan, right? A senior linebacker. You lost him 2 weeks ago. Now you lose your signal caller and a guy who's going to be a captain, and Dylan Moses. Now you have true freshmen in there. Now think about that. Let that sink in. True freshman as your signal caller. Ain't easy, especially in that defense where it's a science. So they'll find a way. I mean, I'm not, whatever you do, don't throw dirt on Alabama.
Right.
they're still going to be in the mix. And by the midway through the season, man, I've had so many coaches. My brother's one of them who coached in the NFL for years with the Detroit Lions as an assistant special teams coach. Now he's a special teams coordinator and tight ends coach for Vanderbilt. As he told me for years, man, he goes, look, by the time you get to week 6, 7, freshmen have become sophomores. They've been calloused. And I love that the way that my brother Fitz, phrases that, calloused, right? And it's like doing yard work, which I love today, by the way. You don't have city hands anymore, right? I mean, you get some, your hands toughen up. Well, sophomores become juniors around week 6, week 7. So that's where Alabama will be with some of these young guys. But man, it's still I feel more for the person, because that's an ACL, and what I'm being told, an MCL as well. I mean, this is a guy who's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick in the NFL. Now he's going to have to go and come back another year, and knowing Dylan a little bit, he's going to want to come back and go, you know what, I have unfinished business here at Bama. You feel for the guy. You really do.
Yeah. Ian Fitzsimmons joining us, the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN, co-host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons, Monday through Friday nights, 9 to midnight here on 97.3 ESPN. And you will be on the sideline this Saturday. This game is huge. Oregon, Auburn. And Ian, one of the things I love about this game is strength on strength. That Oregon offensive line versus that Auburn defensive line. I mean, that is just, going to be power on power right there. Oh, and don't forget about the Heisman Trophy candidate, Justin Herbert, behind center.
Dude, this is as good as it gets. I mean, I was talking to Derek Brown, the Auburn All-American defensive tackle, about this very thing, with that matchup you're talking about. You have D. Brown wearing number 5 for Auburn, folks, on Saturday night on ABC and ESPN Radio. You've got Marlon Davidson wearing 3, Nick Coe wearing 91, Big Cat Bryant. I mean, this is as ferocious a defensive front as we have seen in a long, long time. I mean, I understand last year with Clemson. I mean, it did, and that group was beyond special. But those guys were coming off, a college football playoff appearance and a national championship the year before that. This Auburn bunch, when talking to Derek Brown last week, they haven't tasted that kind of glory. And that's the reason that Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown, who could have been first-round draft picks last year, decided to come back to Auburn, because they want to taste what that D-line for Clemson felt. And that's why they're back. And they are hunting. When I say hunting, I mean, I'm talking these dudes again. I mean, they arrive with serious intentions. And they're going up against a group that, whether it's Dallas Warmack or Shane Lemieux or Calvin, Throckmorton, that Oregon offensive line, they have got 3 guys on that Oregon offensive line that are going to go in the first 2 rounds of the league. So you got 3 guys up front for Auburn, right? NFL draft picks, first 2 rounds. 3 O-linemen minimum, right, for Oregon, first 2 rounds. This may be the best positional matchup of the entire college football season. And Derek Brown is salivating. Let's go, man. Let's get it. And even though they have a freshman quarterback in Bo Nix, whose dad, Patrick Nix, is an Auburn legend, played quarterback at Auburn, won a ton of games. I mean, he was born to play this. And it's the first true freshman to start at quarterback for Auburn since 1946. Let that sink in, man. We're coming off World War II here, Coach.
Right.
and going up against Justin Herbert, right? As you mentioned, one of the Heisman front runners, and The most underrated guy that Derek told me about is the running back C.J. Friedel, number 7. This is Oregon's offense versus that Auburn defense, and it's best on best. And I'll give you a name that no one knows about right now that is going to be like it's going to be this player where you're going to go, how in the hell do we have to wait 3 years to have him in the NFL? And that's Kayvon Thibodeau, number 5 for Oregon, defensive end. He's 6'5", 260, has muscles in his toenails, right? I mean, this dude is a beast. And Mario Cristobal says he has not only not disappointed as a true freshman, but he's looked even better than they anticipated. So get ready, Podna, because this is going to get nasty. When I say nasty, I mean put your hand in the dirt, have a shot of whiskey, and let's go, because it's going to get ugly on Saturday night at Jerry World.
I can't wait. 7:30 kickoff again. Ian Fitzsimmons will be there on the call this Saturday night on 97.3 ESPN. Ian, appreciate your time today. And before I let you go, before I let you get back to working around the house.
I'm done working, dude. I mean, it's 118 out there. I'm done, dude.
Well,
I can only do so much in this on after 7 surgeries. I was out there for 3 hours. I'm finished. Okay. I got nothing else.
Well, before I let you go, I got to address with you when you told Freddie Coleman last week that you didn't know what Wawa was.
Still don't.
You got to come to the Northeast. We got to get you in a Wawa, because once you've experienced Wawa,
What is it?
It's basically if you take your local gas station mart and basically put it on steroids.
Right.
That's what it is. Because basically you go in the Wawa, you can get your food, you can get your gas, you can get everything there, and the food is probably better than almost any mart you've ever been in.
So it's like a Buc-ee's down here in Texas.
Probably something like that.
Yeah. So see,
I would say,
right?
I don't know what Buc-ee's. Yeah, but I know Speedway.
Buc-ees. So
okay.
Go Google, and that's the best beef jerky you're ever going to have. A great bar, whatever you need, you can get it at Buc-ee's on a road trip. So Wawa is your version of Buc-ee's when it comes to us. I got it.
Except for us,
I get it.
Except for us, it's the subs and the hoagies. So.
Yeah, you ain't getting that about. You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, it's more beef jerky and everything else, right? I mean, yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
why? Now you can get everything from I mean, you can probably give a tooth pulled at Buc-ee's. I mean, it's ridiculous the stuff they offered. But I've never actually had a sub or whatever. We call them down where I'm from in Louisiana. We call those po' boys, right? Never had one at Buc-ee's. But I'll try one at Wawa next time I'm up there.
All right. Well, next time you're up here, we'll get you into a Wawa. Okay.
I'm in. Done.
All right, Ian. Appreciate your time today.
My pleasure, man. Anytime.
Ian Fitzsimmons joined us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Again, you can hear him tonight, Freddie and Fitzsimmons, every Monday through Friday night from 9 to midnight here on 97.3 ESPN.